Okay. And waiting, starting. Come on, internet. Theoretically, it started. Yep, it started. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to another episode of Discussions with Interesting People. Today, we have as a guest a very interesting person, Shibby, from, as of course the title says, the Revolutionary Lumpen Radio. And let's get into it and see what is this all about, because lots of words, revolution and radio and Lumpen. Okay, let's make a sense out of this. So, Shibby, welcome to the show. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you for having me. Memories of the future. Pleasure to be here. Hope that I'm somewhat of an interesting guest that your introduction might me up to be. So, I'm Shibby. I'm a revolutionary communist. I prefer to use the word revolutionary communist rather than Marxist, Leninist, all of that kind of madness, because just it just shows that I'm not for bourgeois politics in any shape, way, or form, and we absolutely need to annihilate the state, the pigs, the courts, all the powers in place that maintain the status quo need to be liquidated. And we know that revolutions are bloody violent action. It's an ongoing process, and some people are just going to have to be annihilated. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a matter of a fact, because we're up against it, the world being exterminated, climate chaos, eugenocide, we live on a type of hell, to tell you the truth. So, how Revolutionary Lumpen Radio, where does that come into all of that? Well, it's still something that I'm working on myself to describe. It was just more of a gut feeling and a knowing that I, as a revolutionary communist, had to go out and say something and defend the revolutionary potential of the local proletariat after myself becoming organised for so many years.
Wait a sec. Nope. Check now. Nope. What the beep? Okay.
Don't know what to tell you.
Oh, no, it's good. Now it's good. Okay.
Now it's good.
So, yeah.
So like basically it's a Revolutionary Lumpen Radio. It's a revolutionary part of the Lumpen. We were to and from the Lumpen proletariat, and the radio part of it is because we like to play some music at the end of the track and have like kind of a music theme for communists to tune into, because it's nice to have like a familiar sound and culture pushing out for people to get used to. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot more to it about that, and I'd like to speak more about all of those things and more while I'm here. But have you any follow-up questions for us?
Nice touch with the song. So, I'm somehow, I like to say I'm on the left. I'm definitely not with the capitalists. I don't like what the present day government and groups of people that rule over us are doing to us, and I totally believe that we should change this part and how the society is structured right now. But I have a sort of a beef with the people that I've met. They are either on the side of, oh, you have to read theory, but they never get to the praxis part, where they simply go on and talk only about the positive things that were happening in Soviet Union, the positive things that happened whenever communists was tried somewhere in the world. Okay, and it's sort of a mixed position because I want to associate with people. I'm aware that me by myself I cannot accomplish very much. I can do, but if I want to grow, if I want to help really help people, I need to associate with other people. So I need to find people. That's one of my particular things. I want to associate with people who not only know the theory but also like to do something in the real world, because otherwise we are just people on the discords and on the internets bragging about which volume of Marx we have read in the last days or something. And when I was invited to your Discord server, and the first thing I saw from you was your last video where you literally was it was, I believe, one day. It was filmed during one day and then stitched together, and you got all the people together and folks in chat donating money, and you put together all the sandwiches and pamphlets, leaflets, and you went outside, put up the tent, and started doing the work. How that was like awesome, inspiring, awesome energy. It was in that video, like fuck yeah. No. So how did you come up with that idea? It was something spontaneous. Where did you start from, and how do you end up with something like that?
Thank you very much for that feedback and the support there, solidarity, comrade. I'm glad that it was meaningful to you as somebody who looks around and wants to get involved as a revolutionary struggle, as you're saying, but you kind of feel like a lot of Marxists and a lot of communists. It sounds like you're describing them being a bit fucking cringe, to tell you the truth. Just sitting around sniffing each other's farts on Marxist theory, and that was one of my problems too. We do need the work, the practice, but if you are a good Marxist and actually, if you do actually follow the theory and historical materialism, you realise that the practice leads you nowhere else but towards dual power, but towards base building, but towards serve the people programs. Now these programs aren't a charity because charities, I mean, first and foremost, they're largely businesses, but um, but the thing about the Serve the People program is we want to turn people's hunger from capitalism into a hunger for socialism. Like we want to show people that the society is managed in a way with the state, and the state is managed the economy and money in such a way that so many people are intentionally poor, so we've got to feed the people, and then all food should be free under socialism anyway. These are just some of the ways that we speak to the people and why they're important. But again, like I said, it's not spontaneous whatsoever. It's not charity. It's a part of a dual power to building, base building towards dual power. So what that means is like we're building bases within communities, lumpen communities, like out in the streets. Like a lot of these communist organisations today, what they're doing is they're in the city centres, organising, giving out flyers, leaflets, selling newspapers. And while that may have its perks and positive roles within the revolutionary struggle, that's not all that's necessary. We need more than that. We need more than people bringing attention to the atrocities, happening within. We need more people raising, the atrocities of the genocide of the Cubans and the US blockade. These things are important, but actually getting out there in the community, the people.
Wait a sec, there is feedback. Uh, wait, wait a sec.
Unless the sound is coming through the goddamn webcam.
Oh,
There might
now
be
it's okay. Yeah, now it's okay.
audio input.
That changed my sound for
Wow,
anything.
wow, finally.
See, so
Quality.
the sound is coming through my goddamn webcam, that piece of shit. God, I've got a microphone here, and it's not using the sound.
Yeah, it's happening. Lol.
Right.
Whew. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that fucking sucks. I should just be saying all of that again, but here we are anyway. So basically, yeah, I mean, it's just important to get out there, and we follow like what the Black Panthers done, if anything, with their free food programs, because these free food programs aren't about just giving free food to people. That's charity. We want to end the cause to that effect. Do you know what I'm saying? But we want to do multiple like Malcolm X movements out down there in the south in London, and I think that they have over 24 different you know, programs in their communities, and that's something we want to get something close to, so that because we want to alleviate the alienation within our communities, so that neighbors actually know each other. Because how are you meant to support your neighbor? How would you ever want a better life for your neighbors if you don't even know them, if you don't even know your name, if you're alienated from everyone and everything? How are you meant to care about anybody or anything? And once you get to know other people and, you know, understand their struggles, and it's not even their fault, it's largely out of their control, then, you know, you feel anguish and you feel like that's wrong and you want to do something about it. So that's what we want to do, is build a state behind the state, just as the Black Panthers did in their communities. They were in the United States, and they had got them free healthcare in their community in the United States. The Black Panthers would, through their fucking medicine program, would literally treat people with like doctors and nurses. Do you know what I'm saying? In the United States for
Mm-hmm.
goddamn free. That was one out of many. You know, education, clothes, flipping like loan services. I mean, whatever you goddamn needed, they were close to building a state within a state, because as a revolutionary communist, you want the state to collapse, and never, like, ultimately you want the bourgeois state to crumble. So if you could have a state already set up in place through your community or through the masses, through the communities and networking and building, then you're halfway there. You're halfway there towards socialism. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's not about these excuses that these same communists that you talked about, who fetishize the literature and are scared to do the practice. Some of the examples that they'll make is something like, you know, you're just asking people to die just by going out and doing these kinds of things. I'm saying, no, I'm asking you to go out and start base building, so that you actually know your community. I mean, what's going on through people's minds if they want a goddamn revolution and they don't literally even know? Like, the people in their road where they live don't even know that they're communists. You know, how does that work? They want to unite the workers, and people in their workplace don't even know that they're communists. How does that work? What's going on? You know, what's going on in the head of these Marxists? I don't even know. It's nothing sensical anyway. It's just a
Yeah.
sense of like cognitive dissonance is all it can be.
So during the years, I collaborated with some NGOs, and through those NGOs, like before getting into the socialist, communism, Marxism ideology, getting more into it. But through those NGOs, I got in touch with various groups of people on the streets, homeless, all sorts of problems, kids from problematic families, and working with those people was like impressive, left with a very deep impression for me. It taught me lots of things, and really helped me better understand the human condition and the problems of our society. It was like really humbling and like literally expanded my understanding of what humans are, what we are, what we should be one in relationship with the other, and how should we help. And ultimately, after I left those groups and I got busy with other things, I kind of got a better understanding of the magical social contract that should exist between us and the state, and the fact that yes, actually everybody talks about it, but in reality there isn't such thing. It isn't manifested. Every governmental agency is trying to screw us at every corner and is definitely built not to help us but to pretend to help us. So my next question to you would be, if Marxists have the opportunity to go and help people through NGOs, charities and such thing, should they go do it, or should they try and go and start a movement, a local initiative like yours?
Yeah, interesting question, most definitely. So, of course, just like just like playing along in bourgeois politics, you shouldn't play along with charities either. These charities invest in firearms, in tobacco companies, in mining, in the global south. These charities are vicious organizations. I'm talking about like Children in Need, the Red Nose Day. If you look at them, these have got stocks in, like I say, firearms companies, and the vicious. So, these are just components of capitalism, and as Mark Fisher described, into passivity, where people can just play along and then feel something good about themselves, just like they'll recycle and then think that they're saving the planet. It's not the reality whatsoever. So we've done that Save the People film. It's called Save the People Lumpen, because we're telling the lumpen all over the world, if you're a goddamn lumpen and if you're listening to this, we're telling you to go out and do what we did. We filmed everything. We went out, filmed getting the goddamn food, putting it together, putting it in bags, putting it to the people, speaking to the people, getting the people on board, getting them signed up to the free food service, where they get a parcel of like 5-6 meals every 2 weeks. And that they're looked after, and you speak to them, you answer the goddamn questions about anything, and you combat the goddamn liberalism with the innocent goddamn questions. This is what we can be doing. And as a matter of fact, it looks like we're going to be branching out to 2 other places in the UK as well over the next couple of months. From comrades who want to get engaged, I do want to thank everybody who supported us financially via the pool on PayPal, and as well as on Revolutionary Lumpen Radio's Patreon, because these are the people who are making it happen. I've got bills to pay. Unlike many people, many YouTubers, many podcasters who are Marxist, I've got a fucking full-time job. I've got to work full-time. I'm fucking skint most of the time. So, to be able to have the support from comrades who know and can trust me to go out and do that work on the ground, and then me go out and do it, that's important. But more than anything, I've shown you how to do it. And if you're in the UK, I'm not bullshitting. Just tell us, message us, and we'll literally either go to you, or you can come up here, and then we'll work together, and I'll show you how to set it up. We're going to have a kind of ideological basis on it, and that is that we're going to be Marxist lumpen if we are going to be branching out. But these are just some things. It's important for people to do these things themselves. And I'll just finish off on a quote that the Cubans say to people who want to go to Cuba to live under socialism. The Cubans say that if you want to come to Cuba to have the benefits of socialism, we say no. We say go and do socialism in your own country, or fight for socialism in your own country. So, that's what it is. Set up your own goddamn dual power base building strategy, because that practice is highly going to inform everybody else's theory, because people aren't doing it, and it's needed, because, communists are embarrassing. They look like bookworms fetishizing, old men historically and historical events. It's a matter of fact. It's just not down with people. It's cringe. We need to just actually start, getting out there. And that might be the problem with these Marxist intellectuals, is they don't have the social skills or the social pride themselves, and they can't get out and speak to the masses. Well, in any case, I'll even help you socially if you need to know, just how to be a little bit more goddamn cool or confident in any way. Like, I mean, let's just get past all of our goddamn embarrassments. We're not all the most eloquent, hip, fashionable, trendy people, but we're struggling together to try and get everybody's interest here. So, goddamn it, let's just do it. Let's just base build people, goddamn.
Nicely said. Okay, so ultimately, technically, yes, charity, but actually, definitely no charity. Go and start your own thing. There are groups like yours and others who are willing to help, give you the infrastructure, and that would be the next question, and the resources and stuff. If somebody comes and say, "Hey, I want to join," and definitely, I'm not from UK, I'm Eastern Europe, but I definitely saw your video and said, hey, I definitely need to pay a visit to UK, find this person and get a weekend with him and his movement, his group, and see what is happening there. That was like magnetic energy, like totally. And if somebody wants to come and help, and let's add another factor of difficulty, and they say, hey, I saw that you filmed everything and I don't want to be on video on record. Can they still come and they can I don't know, get a level of privacy? And the second, what sort of infrastructure in terms of, I don't know, ideology, logistics and stuff can you provide to people who are willing to come and help?
Yeah, boss. Absolutely, anybody is more than welcome to come. I mean, yeah, obviously that would be a boss experience. It would be a show of massive solidarity, just as Ruin a comrade who helped come up to set up the Save the People program here, in which we've been building and growing since together. It's a massive show of solidarity. We're talking about comrades getting together from across the globe to do the practice. Yes, it's not the most militant, destroying the private property infrastructure, on some vicious parasitical banana company. But as we're talking about showing people what socialism is actually going to look like in the sense of socialism gives you free food and guess what? You're an animal and you need food. See, I'm sorry. Look, this is the revolutionary likeness of it that we're talking about. Revolutionary. I'll try and hold back, but especially when it's just what can I say? It's what needs to be done. But yeah, I'll try and hold back. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so they could definitely come up. They're more than welcome, and it would also show support to everybody, just how important this kind of work is. In terms of privacy, would absolutely facilitate the privacy whatsoever. That video was more of an initial, just show the supporters of the program. One sec, let me answer this. Yo, what's happening? Yo, what's happening? Go on, cool. 1 second, I'll be back in just a jiffy, yeah? Do you want to just speak to the audience in a sec? Sorry.
Totally. Okay, we had some materials ready around. Well, chat, if you have questions for Shibby and his program, his initiatives, you are more than welcome to write them in the chat. Let's see. Source. Not a video, but share a screen maybe. I have to better understand the magical platform and how it's working. Oh, there it is. Let's see. Screen 2.
So, fucking phone and all mad numbers. Yeah, so where was I? Basically, as for like the ideological help which we can give people, what you're looking at is something that I wrote up just on the lumpen because it was desperately needed. A lumpen class analysis. The Marxists are meant to use class analysis, and there's just none of it on the lumpen. So obviously you write down the strata of the lumpen class. So that would be the chronically unemployed, the homeless, the sex workers, the disabled. Yo. Yeah, I just phoned you by accident. So you know that's important. But one of my next writing pieces is going to be Marxist lumpen, and that's basically going to be the ideological foundation for these ongoing organizations, lumpen organizations primarily, because this Marxist lumpen is essentially going to just be scientific socialism, except we remember that the lumpen exists. That's essentially all it is, but it's how that's presented is just going to give some historical background, contemporary analysis, and also make some suggestions too, because it's just as we should have a class analysis of the lumpen proletariat and the individual stratas and plights and means of material conditions that make up the social economic fabric of reality that gives them the phenomena of the class in society within our state. Well, we also have revolutionary roles to play. So that's also what it's going to be. That's going to be like if you're goddamn a prisoner, what's your revolutionary role? Have you got should you still be aspiring to do the role of an educated university student out there, on the picket line, with other intellectuals? Is that something you should be aiming for as a prisoner? Probably fucking not. Your role as a sex worker is that the same as the role as an actual worker? Getting involved in unions, etc. Probably not, because unions don't exist. So we have to look at the roles that we have to play within different social strata.
Nice. Finally, somebody who knows his stuff. And he got a very practical approach of things and how things should go, where they should go.
So I just have to dart off. I just so everybody knows, it was getting late and I just phoned me weed man. So we're just gonna pick up. So I'll just wrap up a little spliff while we're talking as well for after the stream. But that's it. Any more follow-up questions on that?
Oh, let me check the chat. Okay.
Also, basically, as for other organizations, since we're basically promoting it, we're just basically I just ask people to look at this Marxist lumpen text because we'd have scientific socialists and just remember that lumpen exists. That's all it is. But also, I'd turn people towards Eldridge Cleaver's ideology of the Black Panther Party as well, which also speaks extensively on the revolutionary role of the lumpen and talks about specifically, and I'm not even bullshitting you, because I don't need to bullshit, because my life is just mad enough as it is. But like, I was writing up something similar on the roles of like the students revolutionary, the worker revolutionary, and I even said something similar to this, but Elvis Cleaver said it back in the day. He said that like the students belong in the universities, you know, doing protests there, the workers belong at the pickets, and the lumpen belong, their revolutionary field is in the streets, the lumpen own the streets, and that's kind of what we're trying to get at, and also set the example for our other comrades within other classes of society to show that, you know, we're out here and we can do revolutionary shit.
Yeah, it's nice talking with someone who is very is oriented to the practical, is very attracted and focused on the practical means of stuff. Because usually when I talk with Marxists, I get mostly the variant of read theory. There will be, what was that? Oh yes, workers will own the mean of production. And that's that. There is nothing in between, and there is nothing after. There is nothing that needs to change. There are no struggles. There is no revolution. There is no change within the society, within the social structures. And it sounds very not fake, but artificial. Like it lives somewhere out there in a bubble, in the cloud, but it's very disconnected from reality. And it's a bit frightening, because I'm not discussing or watching, interacting with anime characters. I'm interacting with human people who act like they live in an anime world, and stuff is like crazy.
It's a little idealist.
Yeah, that's to put it nicely.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm with you. But again, another reason why I'm here on Revolutionary Lumpen Radio is a large part that frustration with that part of the movement as well. I just feel like I could never be one of those people. I'd always be this furious, angry, you know, brave comrade who's willing to put myself out there, put my heart on the line, and you know, just try and do and say and struggle to understand the right thing. And then once I know something even close to the right thing, I could suggest it for others. And then, you know, we're just on this crazy path. But I just want to say to everybody listening as well, just like, I'm going to be here for literally 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and literally I'm here for the struggle, like for the rest of my life. It's serious. We need to be base building. We need to be supporting each other in any way, shape or form. We're going to be here for decades. This isn't for show. It's for goddamn revolution.
So that what you said would be a nice, good thing to go on with. You are talking about building something. Like, how many people are with you, working with you in your group or in other groups? How many groups are there? And I believe you said that, but please say it again. And if you have any goals, do you want to grow? What's your next step in, like, getting more people, getting more infrastructure, money? How do you see, where is your next step and next thing to do on your list?
Well, first and foremost, I'm absolutely blown away to have got the Liverpool Save the People program to where it is today. And like I said, it's funded entirely by supporters. So, I mean, our supporters, it's hard to measure them. I mean, from the listeners to how many people give us feedback to how many people actually directly engage and we get to know these people personally. You know, there's a lot, and they're all over the globe. But in terms of people on the ground, But obviously those people, again, like I say, all of those listeners, all of those people who support us, follow us, like us, share us on social media, and help boost us up the algorithm to reach more people, so that the Patreon can reach more people, so that funding can reach more people, so that more people can be fed. They're still a part of this. They're still making this happen. So I want to emphasize that to them as well, because like that's their contributions always. But as for, again, boots on the ground, I mean, I'd say there's less than 3 realistically, and that's despite knowing. In fact, next Sunday I've got the Young Communist League in Liverpool helping out with a fresh food stall, and then hopefully a couple of weeks later I'm going to have Fight Racism, Fight Imperialism Liverpool helping out with a fresh table stall in my estate just outside my house, and that's to show these other organisations what the practice I'm doing and how it's affecting my community. So that's an educational thing for them, whilst also them showing solidarity for us, so that we can then have more boots on the ground to turn more heads, to get more people signed up to the free food program. So that's important. But in terms of this organization, this is like a vanguard shit, because nobody else is speaking anything towards this kind of practice other than a few other lumpen across the world and previous ones, such as like the Black Panther Party. Do you know what I'm saying? So, unfortunately, there's not that many, but it's growing. And those who have been involved, stoned as well, these people come up from the travel across the country to come to Liverpool to help me with this. And there's somebody down south who wants to help to set up there, and there's somebody up in Scotland who wants help to set up there. So hopefully those two would be us branching out, and then again we're just trying to support them ideologically, financially, and in any single other way that they might possibly need help. But in terms of like the future of it, the idea and goal I'd like is to have enough support and funding to go from getting the every 2-week food parcels. I'd like them to get hot food to regularly, fresh food through all the fresh food, goes to the city centre, in which it's given out to the homeless. So that means that the people at the stalls from the actual community who help out with the fresh food would then go to the city centre, and then they themselves, never doing a political act in the entire life or even contemplate the politics, would then be in the position through the free food program to be giving out these fresh food to the homeless people in the city centre. And that kind of practice is illuminating and heart-wrenching and upsetting, and inspiring, because it's not easy to give food to a homeless people. If they know you to come out with loads of shit, you try and give a homeless person food, and not bullshitting, it's harder than you think. Because I was like, yeah, Scran. He was like, said, nah, give it to him down there. I've had something to eat. I was like, lad, we've got loads, just have one. He said, nah, I've had something, pass it to him down there. Same again down there. I was like, how, this isn't easy. I was like, fucking hell, I would have thought it was easier. But that's the thing, is these homeless people out there on the streets, which is just shows the power of the lumpen proletariat and their revolutionary humanity, is that these homeless people out there on the streets have got more solidarity and sense of community with each other on a street than an actual community has in a goddamn social in a goddamn housing estate. Do you know what I'm saying? These homeless people look after each other more than people in our neighborhoods. And these are the ones who are fucking meant to be living civilized, while these people out on the fucking streets are meant to be the barbarians. And that's just a testament to the fucking lumpen proletariat. These people have got nothing but fucking themselves. Do you know what I'm saying? So hot food would be the next step to go. And then what I'd like to go from there is the people then in Lee Park, which is my estate, where the people just do the fresh food programs, where the people just give out the food. I just help with the shopping, and then I don't want to touch Lee Park other than for the educational meetings with the people who are then running it, essentially, so that they stay ideologically scientific and not reactionary, so that I can then start in the next estate, the nuke, and then go to the next estate, the next estate, the next estate. But one of the comrades who helped out last time, who were mentioned, helped set this up, who actually got in touch with me because of a tweet in which I said, God damn, is anybody in the United Kingdom actually fucking serious about revolution? Actually message me, because everybody's a fucking pussy. So, but and I said, like, can I travel anywhere in the world where you want, like, just fucking tell me if you're serious. And one of them got in touch with me, Malcolm X movement, shared it, and then that's how this started, was with that one comrade who saw that tweet who was like, yeah, I'm serious about revolution. And then this is what's come from it, on top of the Revolutionary Lumpen Radio project. So we want to do that. We want to keep going throughout the city. That comrade's coming to Liverpool, so there's going to be more on the ground as well, rather than sporadic visits. I'm really interested to see how it's going to go. I've got, like, in my workplace, it's a multi-billion-pound supermarket conglomerate, corporation, and I've got to go to work tomorrow in the morning on my day off because a film crew's in the store, and I've been selected as basically my company's name, my store's company's name, and their secret heroes. So I'm going to talk about the free food program there, so that me fucking workplace can put it together in some fucking bureaucratic compilation of fucking fetishism. So, everybody in work knows what I do. Everybody looks up to it. Everybody supports it, admires it, cheers it everywhere, because everybody needs to know that we're communists. Everybody needs to know that capitalism's the enemy. I'm doing this shit both, like I say, in and out of work. I don't know what more people want from me, honestly.
What more? They want information. They want to be inspired, by example, preferably. Because just saying, go read some more pages, it's easy to do, but doing the real work is... one last question. You are talking about the supermarket and stuff. In the United States, I've seen initiatives doing groups of people doing community fridges. Are you familiar with them?
What the heck is that?
They literally get a fridge, find a shop, usually a shop, a place where they can put it and plug it into electricity, and they put free food in that shop, and the people can come and take it, and the food is fresh and nobody needs to be there. Okay, so it's literally a fridge with free food. I will give you a link to some people. I actually contacted
give us a link to that, so that I don't
Definitely.
forget. I doubt I will, though, because that's a really fucking good idea. I'd love to see something like that. I do work with my shop, which you might have seen on that video, and they allow people to hand their forms in for the free food into that shop, and then they'll pass it to me when I go in. They're very supportive. As for a fridge, I don't think that there's enough space in that local shop, and we don't have another shop in the community. I would like to see it, though, and it's something that I'd like to maybe contemplate getting in my workplace, actually, because my manager of the store actually recently, no bullshit, in the same day I got told about this film crew filming me about the Serve the People program, another manager told me that she'd messaged the sustainability departments for the company to share my idea of having what the fuck's it called? I forgot what it's called. A compost bin in the backyard, because a lot of produce waste, a lot of fruit, vegetable goes to waste and could easily be compost. Because they only allow one organization to get free food through the food bank donations at a time. That means that I haven't been able to do it over a period of years. So I've said to them, if you're not going to give me the free food for the program, at least let me grow it. So that's hopefully what I do is have rich, fertile, potent soil so that I can grow food, and that would be a community project in and of itself, actually, growing food. So, these are just things that I'm trying to bring into my workplace. And if this comes through with the compost bin, I'd love to have one of those fridges in my work as well. I think that that's a serious idea for them to consider. And I would also, on that note, advise other people who work in retail to ask their managers for donations for food banks, and then just try and get yourself food for the masses that way. Or again, ask about these fridges. If you don't ask, you don't get. You're not going to get fired over suggestion. One way that your workplace can help support, feed people through poverty and hunger, you're not going to get fired for that. If you say it's because I fucking worship Stalin and I fucking love Mao and, fucking death to all cat, then you're going to have problems. Don't be like that. Just say, I think it would be good if, I'd like to start a, food bank program. Can I do this? We work in retail. You see how much food goes to waste. It's our responsibility in the Imperial Corps to at least try and make sure that 50% of all the food and waste in the world doesn't go to waste. But,
Yeah, I put on the screen an example. I will send you links and stuff. And the people, there are a couple of videos on the internet about these fridges, and they were literally talking about this. Either as a person, you have lots of food that is you don't eat, and it's there in your fridge, or you can always buy something else. But also, lots of shops have food which will expire, and they can put it in other certain conditions in these types of fridges. In the USA, they require a functional fridge and a working fridge because, regulations with the health departments and stuff like that. Okay, but they also made another thing where almost like a fridge, but sort of a box, and they put in soap and toothbrushes and other toiletries and things for, intimate products for the ladies and for free. And I believe at one point they also put up some charging stations for smartphones. But yeah, so
yeah, boss, cool. Conrad Ruin, if he's watching now, I bet he'd love that idea. He'd love that. Just looking at it with just how many apples and fruit you can cram in there. That's a really, really good idea, Conrad. Thank you for that. Let me just pop back in 5 seconds. I'm just going to get some water.
Sure. Yep. This is an awesome initiative from the USA. All over the places, in south, in the north, in the middle, this type of community fridges. And yeah, that's awesome for the neighborhood, awesome for the community. Also, it kind of solves a bit the problem with extra food which is required to be thrown away and dispatched. And I remember, oh yeah, that was a good one. Let's see. I hope Google. Yeah. Oh, so one thing about the Harlem about this outdoor fridges initiative is that the people got their stuff very well structured, and they are very efficient with their organization. And they said that a bunch of people, some of these fridges are organized in a sort of anarchist style, spirit, ideology, and stuff to be very decentralized and everybody to be involved as with as few amount of time and energy as possible, so that that thing shouldn't become a burden and stuff. And they developed properly teams with specific tasks, and it takes very little effort for a certain person to do and take care of what he is doing and to keep the project running. But with regard of that, community fridge, helping the people, distributing the food that should go to waste, and this image with what was that? Yeah, the cups guarding the waste bin, not letting people get the food which was being thrown out, and they were guarding the waste bin. I thought that was one of the most asinine things possible to see on TV, but
Like
yeah.
that is one of my go-to arguments when anybody ever defends a pig. It's to say no, the pigs defend private property over people, and they'll even go so far as to protect food from being eaten when people are starving, and then I describe that situation to them and say, obviously, that's the role pigs play, is defending property and profit over people. That's so fuck the police.
Yeah. I get the spirit. Yeah, so yeah, that was the idea from across the pond.
Let me bounce something off you there, because as a Marxist, we should always look at things in contradiction as well, never just deal with them face on. I would say the contradiction to that argument, which is why it would require extensive infrastructure in place on a food program initially, and it would require the images from said program to be plastered over that fridge so that people know where the food's coming from, because the aim again is not charity, it's to address the symptoms of a cause, and that's what we want to cure. We want to cure the cause rather than the effect. So when it comes to base building, handing the food out, again, that's to show people they can trust, that's to show people that we're dependable, that's to show that we love them. And it's also to build this community, whereas if you are just spontaneously giving food out sporadically, you're never going to get that opportunity to develop a closer bond. That's only one negative. It's a small negative, but again, like I said, something you could overcome simply by having, stickers of the organization that's facilitating it, so people understand that and can still help, though, support the bigger picture that organization's working on.
Yeah, that would be another awesome question you partially answered, but let me say it, and maybe you have something more to add, because but first seeing or hearing about this project, it sounds like charity. It's something like the state already does. So how important is the ideological part, and how do you communicate the ideological part of your work without being too imposing on the person you want to help, you want to reach out to? Okay, how do you balance giving out the food with the ideological part?
Very, really, really good question, comrade. Yeah, important one. Something that I've had people, we've all heard this arguments where you can't just lay it on people too thick. You've got to break them into it like the goddamn ideological virgins, and they've got to be slowly broken into reality. It doesn't work like that. When Neo wakes up and he's in that slime, nobody said, "Oh, by the way, you might wake up in some crazy slimy place and there's all bodies all over you. Don't freak out. It'll be okay." Nobody told them that part. So, you just need to lay it on to people. For example, I've got this lady friend who is black, right? So when I talk about this, and like she's a proper like liberal, like proper individualist liberal, and her family has literally come from some like African country I didn't even know existed, because it's so like obscure from history that like some of its only history is that it had like literal fucking genocides taking place. So her parents left, and then they're in the UK, and now she's just a super liberal because she's come from a fucking place of fucking murder and pillaging, and she's just cracking on with life in the Imperial Core, living a much better life than she would have in that country if you know, her parents never left. So all power to her. You know, people deserve nice things. Do you know what I'm saying? But when I try and talk about capitalism to hear from somebody who's come from literally a goddamn genocide hellhole, it's like she refers to it. She's like, know what you're telling me, and this is a good example to refer to get at the answer to what to that question. Like what she says to me, she's like, no, I've just got over, or everything I've just got over, and now you're telling me I'm a slave, and like saying all these racist names towards black people. I'm like, oh my god, stop, and like, stop saying it. Don't ever say that about yourself ever again. I'm saying, no, I'm saying we're wage slaves. That's what we are, because we have to sell our labor to a capitalist. That's just what it is. But like, you know, it is what it is, kind of thing. And it's traumatic. Yeah, it's always traumatic to know that you're violently oppressed by either literal state violence, by being thrown into a cell and spending the rest of your one and only life in prison, or there's, you know, starving to death, or just getting killed or something like that. You know, these are the options that people have got as a proletarian, and people, and like middle class people, and you know, ruling class capitalists, they can do anything that they literally want, go anywhere they want and whenever they want to. You know, it's that easy for them because democracy depends on slaves, and it is that wage slavery which are referenced. That, you know, keeps this capitalist fucking world ticking. So when it comes to actually translating that to people, I've never got one set thing to say. I always kind of get a vibe with somebody, hear what they say, and then just go off that. A lot of the stuff that people say, which will inhibit them supporting communism, if you do reference you're a communist or something like that, what you'll find is they'll just come up with some communist myth that can easily be debunked. And that doesn't require any personalization for a response or an answer for them. That just simply requires, you know, in fact, that's because of this, and you can find that out there because of this, and then just refer to them, and, you know, because everybody knows that the media lies, it's not to be trusted, and you know, all of this stuff's easy. I strongly believe that you know, you should always be upfront and outright about being a communist. I can say that today, and living in the UK in the Imperial Core, you know, it's different across the world, in the global south, in Eastern Europe, and in places in the United States. You know, you can lose your job. That's one argument. But at the same time, you know, you're only in that job because you've been coerced to give your consent into that contract. So ultimately, you know, the capitalist is your pimp. And think of the millions of people who are unemployed without a job anyway. They're still living, they're still surviving. If you lose your job, it's not the end of the world. You know, as Fred Hampton said, work's not important, school's not important, nothing's more important than stopping fascism, because fascism's going to stop us all. You know, these are things to consider. I think, you know, I think important, like it's important to try and reach people through different methods, but some of those methods have to just be an outright, you know, we live in a bourgeois democracy, it's a state controlled by the ruling class, and we want a dictatorship of the proletariat instead. Sometimes that's good enough, because another thing is, I hate. I would hate to think that the people are too stupid to understand what they're telling them. I think everything that we do say is translatable dead fast. It's hard because I'm talking about hypothetical situations, about people confronting me with these things, but I'm just trying to get at different scenarios that could potentially or likely arise as you do this work. So, it was a bit of everywhere, but I hope you got something from that answer.
Yeah. It was a bit large, but it was refreshing to hear you talk. As like I said, I've collaborated with some NGOs, yes, bourgeoisie kind of organizations and stuff like that. But still, I was fortunate enough to work with these people in very problematic conditions. And every time I would go and approach them, there was some, something like a knot. Something tightening inside me, because they had all sorts of strange hard stories to hear, and you needed to be really there and really present to listen and understand what they went through, and not project, not assume, not think anything ahead, and start running your mouth before they spoke. So yeah, that thing is very important, and you quite said it nicely and coherently. Go there, do the stuff, but don't forget to talk about your goals and whatever else is at the end of the sandwich, because otherwise you're just going and handing out sandwiches, and that's totally not the purpose of what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, I've just got that slogan that I throw out there. We want to turn people's hunger from capitalism into a hunger for socialism, and then you can simply say capitalism's the economic system that we live under. Like, you could call it democracy, but it enslaves us, basically. But I just want to make a comment on something and ask you a little question, if I could, because when I think I must have been literally about 6 years old, and I don't know if these are the politically correct words for this, but when I was about 6 years old, I was at a family party, and it's like my mum, my nan, my aunties, my uncles, granddad, and all that. And my nan was there with somebody who was deaf, dumb, and blind. So that is to say, he was deaf. He could not hear anything. He was dumb in the sense that he couldn't speak, because he was also blind. So he'd never heard anything, he'd never seen anything, and he couldn't speak because he had no sense of anything other than the sensations on his skin. That's all he knew of the world. He's about a 40-year-old fucking man. And my nan told me that. I was about 6, 7, 8 years old. That fucking traumatized me alone, just being told that a man's there without being able to see, without being able to hear anything. He's just there in a world of his own. My nan looking after him because she's a carer, and she has been for ages. So is my granddad. Amazing jobs, amazing people who look after those who literally need caring 24/7. So, what the hell was you doing to come across all these different types of people? Like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Oh, sorry, that was rhetorical, or was it for me?
No, I'm literally asking you, like, what was you doing to come across all these other different types of people? Because, I mean, that's it. As you said, people live in their own kind of world a lot of the time, and they haven't met these other people, these conditions of life that people can struggle under. So, how did you...
Well, the thing is, I consider myself, I have a very good, sometimes I have a very good impression of myself, and I consider that I can go along with people, but I never thought about, the usual people that I meet and mingle with. I never really thought outside of that group of people. So first time when I went in there, I didn't really understood what was happening. It was me helping another person, but I was looking at that person which was on the street, or without a parent, with a drunk parent, with maybe both drunk parents having issues with alcohol and abusive, fights and stuff like that, violence, maybe in prison.
It's
And
serious, yeah.
and I was looking at those people like they were sort of normal people. Not they wouldn't be normal, because normal people get all sorts, but they were like they were without problems. They were in a strange situations, but I couldn't really properly process it. So it kind of took like a couple of meetings and going out to and engaging with these people like 2 or 3 times to finally understand like the depth of misery. Maybe it was something changing in me, the heart, the emotions really saying, okay, chill and let the barriers go away.
How
And
old
really,
was you? How old was you when this was all taking place?
oh, I've had some experiences like during faculty. I believe it was somewhere around early 20s, and then after after that it was like every couple
So
of
you'd never
years.
thought about politics or anything before then?
Actually, I did thought about politics like really young, also around the age of 20 something, and I did went to most a political party in my town, and I went to the liberals, and I went to their meetings, and I listened to their meetings, and I watched them doing meetings and
What
talking
the
about
fuck the
meetings.
liberals do in the meetings?
Yeah, and just talked, shake hands, everything like they were repeating what the Communist Party people did, just with the flag and the agenda of Democrat Party, and then liberals and liberal Democrats and social Democrats, and I went to each and every party, okay, and I really wanted to see, hey, look, can I join this party? What are you up to? What kind of people are in there and stuff like that? So yeah, I went to them and literally sat for a couple of weeks, but some party I went to, and for a couple of months. But outside of the usual talk, one dude talking from in front of the crowd, and everybody sitting on the chairs in the hall and applauding. Nothing was happening. There are no real programs to engage with the local population, with the citizens. From the speech didn't match the real world. Okay, and at that age, I was friend. It wasn't a very large city, so I was friend with lots of other kids, and you could easily see how backstage politics and lots of shady things were going on. Yeah, and if you weren't on the proper list, you weren't willing to, be sneaky and sell yourself, you wouldn't have a chance to be really heard and have your words have a saying,
everywhere,
yeah, so I decided, okay, that is all a bunch of bullshit. Thank you for the experience. I appreciate the experience, but I have better things to do. Yeah, so then I got attracted, I got tangled with these NGOs, and I got engaged with the people, and the experience was like really awesome. And then life went on and stuff. But years later, things started to gather, and I got back to these politics things again from a different angle, because ultimately you see everything going going to waste and ending in a bad. There is the moment of this party coming to power and promising things. Everybody goes yay, and everything ends up in bullshit. Like, come on, like no. I'm not living like 1,000 years, because then maybe I would say like I will wait like 200 more years or something. But no, my life is finite, and I would really like to try something again. And if that fails, it's not a problem. I will try again. But I just wouldn't like to go and I sort of retire, or say, oh, okay, I've tried and I cannot do anything, and I will stop doing. It's just not in my style of doing things.
Yeah, I mean, the view of the world didn't match up to reality because these people are idealists, but all of that just is a testament to the human spirit, just wanting to get involved in society and be a social creature and want to know what's happening and how to get involved and how to help out. That's why we're after socialism. It's inherent within us, and both of us are still striving for the actual true democracy of what these liberals understand democracy is, without the actual historical materialist analysis of what it is. You know, education's too important. I mean, these people are living in a world where they ideologically can't read and everything's in text. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like the ideologically illiterate is the word that I'm looking for. So it's like these people are like running off limited senses. It is some primitive shit that we're living in. I mean, they say that we're living in what's it called? Information feudalism,
Yep.
And then we could also go into fucking COVID at the same time, because COVID again is just accelerating class antagonism. I think that it's bringing out, different classes even more. Obviously the gaps between the unemployed and the workers and the middle class and the ruling class have massively opened between them all. So we're living in a society today, and this brings us back to actually why it's important to do like base building work, because what's happening is if people are becoming more isolated from the classes that they're in, because do you work at all? Like, have you got a job in like a sector in retail or anything? So like, have you, how have people, you know the way people complain and work and they'll say, oh shit, but we all need to work. Have you ever heard that kind of thing?
Oh, definitely. And it's like, I understand that you need a job to go on, to live your life, but it's not enough. And I was talking with someone from USA, and we were talking about, like, up until a couple of decades ago, you had a job and your life wasn't, I'm surviving. You could have a life, you could make a family, you could own a house and have all these things. It wasn't great, it still was capitalism, class and stuff, but you had a certain level of quality of life. But then within the last decades, you see the system taking things away from you. Like, when are you going to say stop, dude? When, or did it? Okay, when it's enough, because they are taking away your house and loans and the ability to leverage money and every ability you need to act and think about yourself as a human being, a normal human being, because you haven't done anything wrong. Okay, when are you going to say enough? Do you really need to work 2 jobs or 3 jobs, or worry every 30 days about not having a job? What do you need to click and snap out of this state? And that's a bit frightening, because lots of empty and long pauses after I get into this stuff, like, yeah, you're right, but I still need to go to work.
It's very frightening. And because that question that you asked, that important question, is on pause because of what I was getting at, where right now you've got COVID. So what you have in the workplace where people are dealing with these contradictions of needing a job, but they're entitled and should be entitled to more, that's all put on hold because they're saying, oh, well, at least we've got a job because of COVID and so many people have lost a job. So COVID's just kind of changed things, and it's solidified capitalism in a lot of ways, especially at a time when it started around the same time as like the George Floyd riots in the United States. Those protests were taking place just as the COVID restrictions came in place. So, capitalism's benefited and the class struggle has suffered so much under COVID, and we should consider that going forward. I mean, COVID restrictions in the UK are getting lifted tomorrow. We haven't got to wear face masks or social distance. However, I still feel like in a year or two's time, I'm still going to be hearing about COVID. It's mad. But like I say, that's only important because I think about the consequences on the class struggle and what that's going to mean when people are just desperately trying to get a job because they've lost a job or to COVID, or they've just been out of work, and you know, life's fucking hard, isn't it?
Yeah, and a question: do you see or follow any online people who really can understand these things that the capitalists consolidate power, that the take under consideration and change the way they present the Marxism, the capitalism consolidating their power right now with this crisis? What was the other thing? Yeah, I'll get. It will get back to me because usually you only hear Marxist theory being spoken and re-spoken and retold to us as just as Marxist theory. But right now, I do believe we need to stay true and to listen to how things were said and to learn what is authentic and what is not. But right now with all this language, oh yeah, it was the bias that the media is pushing, and it's not just bias, it's like heavily influencing the discourse. Okay, so I kind of see a need for the discourse, the Marxist discourse, to be changing and taking these things under consideration, because either you keep it as simple as it is and you kind of ignore everything else, the media and the capitalists taking more power, or you kind of need to update and evolve. So yeah, do you see anyone taking these things under consideration and saying, hey, look, in this day and age, we should be speaking about Marx and what it proposes in these terms, in these updated terms, or with this new vision?
Yeah, so good questions again. So obviously, I'm sure you know, capitalists consolidate their power through accumulating capital and assimilating culture, primarily proletarian culture, commodifying it and selling it back to us, stripped of its revolutionary potential. So you've got that taking place while the art and culture that we do produce and the news and writing and poetry, etc., that we do produce is being neutralized, but that's our outlet on our view of the world. But in terms of like the media and understanding how capitalists are accumulating the power, particularly on the will always constantly with fresh analysis, I would turn to Ted Rees, author of Socialism or Extinction. That's a little leaflet card that we give out to people for the flyers for the free food program. I haven't got any of them knocking about. It just tells you a little bit about the back. It talks about his book, Socialism or Extinction, Climate, Automation and War, and the Final Capitalist Breakdown. On the back of this card, I'd just like to read it. It says, a comprehensive Marxist analysis of the unprecedented crisis engulfing humanity, arguing that capitalism per se is driving and can only continue to accelerate the climate crisis. Only socialism puts a truly green hemp-based industrial revolution can save Earth's habitability. Automation is abolishing the source of profit, but in a final breakdown is destined to strike much earlier than a zero rate of profit. The economic crisis is intensifying competition, threatening global conflict and nuclear annihilation. So what he's getting at in that book is climate war and automation through a Marxist lens, and it's deeply analytical. Like a lot of research has gone into it, but he's actually just been published by zero books goddamn Mark Fisher's book firm actually on Grossman. I can't remember what the new book's called, but that's a new one. Zero Books is heavy. I mean, it would be like if I got published by Zero Books, I could die happily. You know, it would be such an honor to be on such an esteemed publishing things. But Ted Reese, if you follow him on Twitter, he does a lot of base tweets and always deep analytical. Again, like I say, sometimes he does some really good threads, really interesting to follow. Just an underappreciated gem for Marxist, I think, today. So definitely check out Socialism or Extinction. We've done an interview actually with him on Revolutionary Lumpen Radio, and it's like I say, they accumulate the power through capital. So you need a deeply Marxist economic analysis of that, and so his recent work with Grossman and his previous work, Socialism or Extinction, talked deeply about the Marxist economics of it and the economics and you know capital concentrating and collapsing and liquidating and its inevitable collapse. It's insane, and anybody can understand it. Anybody can understand it because all the graphs are there. It's outstanding. Gotta rate that 5-star if you do get it also. As for anybody else, genuinely no, because the movement's small. There isn't very good many actual revolutionary Marxists today. There's isn't enough. We're slacking. We need more of us.
Yep. Okay, so let's wrap it up and pick it up again. Hope you are willing to come back on the show.
Anytime, absolutely. And I'll also share this with our listeners on Revolutionary Lumpen Radio, because I think that you've been an outstanding interviewer, and I'm sure that people are going to come and follow you and check out your future work and see more memories of the future.
Thank you very much. Oh, and one thing, I'm trying to contact someone who is working for the community fridges within the USA, and besides exchanging contacts, maybe have a show with you and him together and get cracking.
That would be excellent. What I would recommend also is, because as I said, my comrade would love that program, is maybe get them on as well, and they'd love to speak to them. And I know that the comrade would ask them some really important questions that would be deeply informative and practical for us to learn. I think that would really benefit us on the ground, actually, just because we don't just want to hear about it. We, like I say, we really want to put this into practice. So if you wouldn't mind having Ruin on as well.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it in the Discord chat, and we'll see how we can put it together. So, Shibby, thank you for coming off on the stream. Have any last message? Future events, promote your channel. People, go subscribe and support Shibby and his awesome programs. So, Shibby?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. As I say, that Lumpen proletariat analysis that's on Medium, a clap on that will go a long way. I'm turning that into a podcast. I'm also going to switch it up a bit and get deeply personal on it, because it's all a very personal thing, and I've got to hold back on a lot of it because I'm literally talking about illegal crime, gang shit. So, you know, that's going to be a great episode. We've got some really interesting boss interviews coming up with UK organisations, revolutionary organisations, and really interesting comrades talking about lumpen issues, lumpen infighting. Once again, it's no good. On that note, I'd just like to finish off saying that what we're always going to do here at Revolutionary Lumpen Radio is trying to get all goddamn workers and lumpen of the world to unite.
Yep, awesome message. Well, again, thank you. With that being said, thank you everybody for joining, listening, commenting. Thank you, Default. I've been Moff with Memories of the Future. Do subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, and let's continue the discussion next episode. So until next time, see ya.
Ciao.